Among the rubble and debris of the Allied bombing campaign over Cologne, America's new M26 Pershing advances forward. Lurking within the buildings there is a feared Panther. A fierce fight ensues. The Pershing emerges victorious. What happened on that day of March of 1945 was probably one of the most notable tank engagements throughout the entire war. However, in order to get to this stage of the capture of Cologne, we need to step back and see the wider picture. Let's start around 1945. A natural obstacle is preventing the Allied forces from breaking through into the heart of Nazi Germany. They must cross the River Rhine. Cologne was on the left bank of the river. Its capture was vital for the American plans to work out. It was one of the last barriers that the Nazis could hold. The Germans also knew about Cologne's strategic importance to the American plans. They weren't going to give up a city that easily. The Allied bombing campaign had taken its toll on the city of Cologne. It had been bombed over and over, 262 times, day and night raids by both the United States Army Air Force 8th Army and the RAF Bomber Command. Cologne was in devastation and ruins. However, this allowed for the ideal situation for the German forces. They were playing defensively, retreating, not attacking, trying to hold their ground. The rubble-collapsed buildings provided an ideal defensive position by halting the Allied advances. Infantry with Panzerfaust could get close to tanks and other vehicles, snipers could easily take out infantry, and so on. They had the advantage. Cologne was the largest city captured by American forces in the entire war. One of the main landmarks of Cologne was the Cologne Cathedral. It towered above the rubble and destroyed city and remained mostly intact throughout the war. The cathedral was made in 1248, a mere 700 years before the Battle of Cologne took place. Further back behind the cathedral lay the Hohenzollern railway bridge. Most German forces had been moved from the eastern bank of the river, however some stayed to the western bank to defend against the Americans. Among the various M4 Shermans with the short 75 and long 76, there were some brand new M26 Pershings. On the 5th of March 1945 the assault began. At 7:10 a.m. Colonel Leander Verdun's parts of Task Force X entered the northwesternly suburbs of Cologne. The tanks laid down a smoke screen using a variety of smoke grenades and a combination of M313, M88 and M89 for the 90, 76 and 75mm guns. They also had supporting infantry on their engine decks. On Task Force Loveday, a different task force with the 3rd Armoured Division encountered around 16 88mm anti-aircraft Flak 41s, and they started to open up on these tanks. These 88s were located at the airport. It took Task Force Loveday some hours to pave their way through the 88mm barrage. Another unit was Force Wellborn, also finding themselves under heavy artillery, Panzerfaust and infantry fire. The 3rd Armoured Division had already lost one M26 Pershing to a Tiger I. On the 6th of March, the Americans got closer and closer to the centre of Cologne and the Rhine. Suddenly a large explosion was heard. The Hohenzollern railway bridge had been blown up by the retreating German forces. Silence fell upon the city, only to be broken by the occasional fire from mortar or artillery piece. The infantry which supported the 3rd Armoured Division had soon cleared the factory areas and districts of Cologne. At this point, the Americans had fought their way within eyesight of the cathedral. At this point, we introduced the Panther. The Germans had left some armour behind to maybe hold off the 3rd Armoured Division's advance. This Panther was going to make its mark in history. Oberleutnant Wilhelm Bartelbord commanded No. 2 Platoon of the Panzerableitung 2106, a segment of Panzer Brigade 106 Feldherrnhalle. Most of Panzer Brigade 106 had been moved across to the eastern bank of the Rhine, however some elements remained on the opposite bank. Panzer Commander Bartelbord was waiting outside the cathedral. American M4s advanced down Kommedenstrasse towards the plaza. The Shermans belonged to Company F, 32nd Armoured Regiment. Collapsed rubble blocked the path forward, complicating the Shermans' advance. Sergeant Kellner, leading the Sherman column, doesn't see anything. However, Bartelbord sees the top of Kellner's Sherman. He is hidden in a tunnel under the railway station and opens fire at roughly 300 meters. Panzergranate 39. Panzer 1 Uhr. Feuer! Kellner, with one leg broken off by the impact, limps off the burning Sherman. All crew members of the Sherman apart from the driver and loader escape the burning wreck. Sergeant Kellner dies afterwards due to wounds. The Shermans need backup and go to the Pershing for help. A message is sent to Sergeant Robert Early in his M26. Early's Pershing is moving down Anden Domikarnen, a street parallel to the Shermans. Robert Early's Pershing is part of Company E, 2nd Armoured Regiment. Sergeant Early gets out of his Pershing and moves by foot to the junction of Marcelstrasse to see what the position of the Panther is at. Bartelbort has driven his Panther 200 metres closer to Kellner's locked-out Sherman. Its hull is angled towards the Shermans, however is facing away from the Pershing. Early points this out and returns to his tank, in which he signals to drive forward. The Pershing drives to the corner of Marcelstrasse, and in doing so, traverses the turret right, in preparation to get the first shot off on the Panther. Bartelbort sees the Pershing. He brings his turret right, however is not angling the hull. The Panther's long 75 is poised and ready to shoot, but he hesitates. He cannot identify what the new tank is. There is no pictures, rumours or anything. He shouts to his gunner not to fire. He said that he thought it was German. This few-second delay gave the perfect opening for the Pershing. The Pershing fires. Bartelbort and one other crewman from the Panther survive, the others dying in hospital or in the tank. The Panther burns for 3 days. On the 7th of March, west bank of Cologne is cleared by the 8th and 104th Infantry Divisions, as well as the 3rd Armoured Division. The city of Cologne is in ruins. The people are in ruins. What is left of the civilians emerged from their basements and cellars. The Panther was moved out of the way and turret moved. It was eventually scrapped post-war. I hope you have enjoyed this video about the notorious tank duel at Cologne Cathedral. Thank you very much for watching. That's it from your host Quillian, and as always, stay safe in these difficult times.